Show, and we always love to welcome back world adventurer Brian Keating. And last year he took us on a tour of Ethiopia. Ethiopia was amazing, and now back for another jaunt through the African country. So you have something stunning to show us once again. As always, welcome back.
Well, thank you, Jill.
Something a little unusual in that we aren't seeing any wildlife.
Well, this is an area, it's a church. Ethiopia is known for its churches, and these stone churches are carved in various locations. Some of them are carved directly into the stone wall. This particular church is called the Church in the Sky. It's known as the hardest church to go and visit. It's about, you've got about a 600 or so foot climb up this cliff, and several meters of that climb are steep like this. Now this is the stone that's used to call in the worshipers. So this is an active church used every Sunday, and we went in. We were told that we had to take off our shoes.
I can see why.
Well, it's because it's a sacred ground. You're not allowed to wear shoes on sacred grounds, and that's the theme of all of these churches in Ethiopia. They all are surrounded by sacred landscape. We're on our way up.
Ooh, it's pretty wild.
And so there we are, going up on this steep slope. Of course, the guides helped us all the way along. It was fantastic. And then we got to this area, this carved out cave, which apparently is where they baptize children. And so so moms bring their new babies up there. And right across from it was this cave, which is a burial location for priests that have been preaching here since 300 AD. So it's a privilege to do a burial in the sky. And it was kind of eerie from our perspective, but it's quite a privilege. Then we had a last 10-meter or so climb, very steep, and this is the view from this church. It's absolutely phenomenal. We had vultures flying past us as we were going up. We had one final half-meter wide trail to do before we got to the doorway of the church, and the doorway of the church was carved right into the cliff. And apparently it was Father Yamata in the 5th century that finished this church off. It was his idea, and the theory was he wanted to pray closer to the clouds.
Oh, wow. This is amazing.
So then we walked up to this church. We met the priest there. We had prearranged to have the church with the priest with a key. He opened it up. We walked inside, and once our eyes adjusted, we couldn't believe what we saw. It was this carved out, this cavern, several rooms to it with archways and painted walls. The painted ceiling actually came complete with the 12 apostles. So, and this is painting that has been dated to 600 AD. So this is some pretty serious historical Christianity. It's some of the most ancient Christianity around. There was a fairly new Bible there, but there was an old one. I asked the preacher then to read a little bit from the Bible, and he obliged with this short reading. And we sat and listened to him, and then our guide said, okay, what I want you to do is just sit and listen and absorb the church. We just lay down on the carpets on the floor. We listened to the wind blowing outside. We could see vultures passing by the door, and then it came time to finally descend back down. We had a rope, and we roped up, and there's my wife all excited about making it down.
To have her feet on the ground, I can understand why.
But Jill, I think the story behind the story here is that these churches protect forests throughout Ethiopia, and these forests have never been cut. Some of them are fairly large, square kilometers in size. Some of the churches are very small, and they have only a few trees around them, but the whole idea is that they protect the landscape for a greater purpose. And from a biological perspective, that's very important. Oxford University has been traveling through Ethiopia for the last number of years,
taking inventory.
Churches in Ethiopia. We've traveled to Ethiopia several times over the last half decade, and each time we've explored a different part of Ethiopia, and each area has its own unique aspect. There are some churches like the ones in Lalibela where they carve straight down into the lava flows, and these are massive churches that have not one bit of concrete in them, carved out of one solid chunk of stone.
Stunning. We always love how you see the world, my friend. Thank you for sharing your travels with us.